Donna Maria, the small business columnist at Q City Metro, and welcome to another episode of Business Matters. Business Matters is presented in partnership with Q City Metro and UNC Charlotte's Belk College of Business. Drive what's next with the Charlotte Online MBA launching this fall with a choice of tech-focused concentrations. Learn more by attending a virtual information session, and you can grab that link right below. It's great to have you here, and I'm super excited because our guest today is just hitting home runs in every single arena, especially when it comes to business, entrepreneurship, and training the next generation of leaders. We have Dr. George Banks with us today, and he is a professor in the Department of Management at the Belk College of Business at UNC Charlotte. Welcome, Dr. Banks.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it certainly is great to meet you. And you know, one of the things that's so wonderful about talking to a college professor is the energy. Like the energy that a college professor brings to any discussion is it's just really inspiring. So tell us a little bit about the energy that you're experiencing at the Belk College of Business today and how that's energizing everyone in the community there.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. Energy is very much a key word for our students, for our faculty, for the community here at Charlotte. There's a lot of interesting things going on in the world of business right now in terms of innovations and transitions. And we bring a lot of that energy, I think, to the classroom, to the teaching in terms of inspiring each other, learning from each other, and then helping to create some synergies and some solutions for the businesses here in the Charlotte community. So definitely there's a lot to be excited about, I think, which is where all that energy is coming from.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, you know, that there is a lot to be excited about in the world today when it comes to business. Like, what are you seeing? Like, we've come through 10 years ago, of course, the Great Recession. We are now continuing to move through a pandemic. How have those sorts of things come together to change the landscape for future leaders and business owners?
Well, there's, two ways you can kind of look at it, right? There's a number of challenges that we're being faced with, as we transition out of hopefully what is the end of the pandemic. So there are some natural challenges there, but there are also some really exciting opportunities in terms of technological innovations. Really the last 2 to 3 years, what we've seen, I think, around the world, the United States, and especially here in Charlotte, is a lot of people kind of pausing and taking measure of where we're at, what our goals are in terms of worker well-being, mental health, our stakeholders, who our stakeholders are, how we're benefiting our community, how we're running our business, how we're leveraging technology. And so it's really been, I think, a transition within the last 2-3 years where a lot of organizations are taking time to pause and think about, who are we? What are we trying to accomplish? How are we trying to accomplish it? And those types of questions, which are really big picture questions. And they've really been influenced by a lot of the changes and events that we've seen in society over the last couple of years. So it's exciting to see, to almost have an excuse to stop. And, a lot of times with business, your head's down and you're just grinding away. And we've had a lot of reasons to pause and lift our heads up and to look around and to take measure of where we're at.
Yes. And speaking of that transition, a lot of our viewers are thinking about transitioning to entrepreneurship and business. And they're thinking about a program like where you are at the Belk College of Business. And what do you offer them in terms of your advice as they come through this transitional period?
Sure. So to be successful in entrepreneurial innovations, initiatives, things like that, there are a number of factors that can come into play. Making sure that you're equipped with the right tool set is obviously really critical, right? Everyone's heard statistics about how challenging it is to start a new venture, potential failure rate, how hard it works, and just the time horizon can be daunting, right? Before you can even claim that you've achieved success. So obviously one of the things that we try to do within the Belk College of Business through the courses that we're offering is to equip students with the tools that they need to be successful. I think this is really important. Entrepreneurship is a really important topic within the city of Charlotte. It's an important topic everywhere, but especially in Charlotte with the number of startups that we have. Historically, Charlotte's not been great in terms of socioeconomic mobility. Entrepreneurship is a really critical tool, I think, to help those want to move up in life and to improve the quality of their lives and those around them. And so obviously to be a successful entrepreneur, like I said, you need the tools, and certainly through education and other opportunities that we create through our networking, we try to equip our students with the tools necessary to be successful.
And Dr. Banks, what can you tell us about, speaking of that upward mobility and how entrepreneurship can play into that? What if we've got a listener out there, someone who's viewing, and they're saying, oh, this sounds so great, but I don't think I have what it takes. I wasn't raised in an entrepreneurial family. I don't have a whole lot of money. And, I really want to do this, but how do I position myself to be successful in a program like yours?
Sure. So there are a number of factors, right? Before you go out and you start something new, it's obviously good to have foundational experiences, right? So this is obviously something that can occur through accumulating years of work experience, which is, I think, really helpful, right? It's hard, if you're brand new without any experience whatsoever in a particular industry, you might have a great idea, but you still need some experience to get it going. Another way to accelerate that process is to improve your network, right? So one of the things that we try to do with our community, for instance, is not just equip you with the tools through the classroom, but equip you with the tools you need through internships, connecting you with folks in the business community and networks, because an important element to being successful, I think, involves having a strong network around you, right? So this could be people that are 5-10 years ahead of you in terms of career progression. If you come in through a cohort, for instance, you make connections with other people that might have various complementary skill sets, because no one person can do it all, right? It's really beneficial to have folks, to have kind of a team around you of folks, even if it's just a mentor, someone who's coaching you, or a sponsor, someone who's advocating for you, or making connections. That can be really instrumental to being successful. And so, by getting the experiences so that you feel comfortable, having the tools, and then having the network around you, that's how you're able to successfully launch new initiatives.
Well, Dr. Banks, I look at your background. I mean, you have authored and published 25 publications. You have earned your PhD, and you have done a lot of other things in your academic and business career. And, you could probably be anywhere, but you are at the Belk College of Business. Tell us a little bit about why that's the right environment for you, and how you pass that on to the people that you teach and train and mentor.
Sure. Well, I think a lot of people have heard this before. Charlotte's, one of the largest cities in the US, certainly in the top 15, but it's also one of the fastest growing. That was one of the things that attracted me to Charlotte about 7 years ago, just the rate of the growth. And the business school very much reflects that. It's gone through just an exceptional transition within the last 10 years, where people around the US and around the world are taking notice of the business school faculty that we have, the students that we have, the number of folks that are graduating and going off and having successful careers, whether it be with Fortune 500 companies or with startups. I mean, we have an incredible alumni base, which we didn't have 10, 20 years ago, which really plays into that networking element that I was talking about. Because I do think part of what you're getting by joining the UNC Charlotte community is being a member of a community where there are networks and there are people you can go to ask questions. And certainly, I think that's one of the things that's helped me to be successful over the last 7 years, is just there's so many people that I've been able to turn to and ask questions. And I've had some really great mentors, sponsors, again, people that have advocated for me, folks that have served as coaches for me, formally and informally. And so I've personally really have benefited from the fact that this is a growing community. And growing also means there's a lot of opportunities as well, right? We're not a kind of stale, stagnate, kind of plateaued type of community. Again, one that's growing and growing very quickly, which can present a lot of really exciting opportunities for folks in the community here in Charlotte.
One of the things that I always do when I'm learning from someone is, of course, I'm listening to everything they're saying, but my ears really perk up when they say, now, if you remember anything I'm saying, I want you to remember this. Then I make sure I have ink in my pen. So I'm going to ask you that question as a professor. If there's anything that we could learn from you today in this moment that we remember, if we forget everything else, what would that one thing be?
Well, I hope this isn't overly simplistic, but I truly believe this is the answer. It's to find what you're interested in, find what you're passionate about, right? If you think about what makes for a successful student in the classroom or a successful, colleague, within a business, it's somebody who's really motivated. And I mean, I know lots of, very smart people with a lot of different skill sets. But the real key, I think, to being successful is to be passionate and to understand what it is that interests you, right? So imagine you take a class that you're really excited about, you just naturally absorb the information, right? You don't, it's not that you don't have to study, but it's almost as if it just kind of comes naturally to you, where you read something, it just sticks in your mind because you're so interested in it. And I think that translates to a successful student in the classroom, but I think it also translates to someone who's in the world of business, who's trying to learn and improve. And when you find something that you're really interested in, it just comes so naturally, and you're so much less likely to suffer from burnout and mental fatigue. I'm not advocating for working on weekends, but it's the type of thing where it's like Saturday afternoon, you're like, I just want to sneak away to kind of, peek at this one project idea and just jot some ideas down because I was so excited about it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Now, again, I don't want to advocate for work on the weekends, because I all think mental health is important, and it's important to take time away from email, shut off devices, and to re-energize in that way. But I'm talking about that level of passion where you're just so excited that you're not feeling consumed by something.
It's so interesting that you say that. It's so important to guard our mental health and to make sure that we take care of it. When you are super passionate about something, though, it sometimes just doesn't seem like work, does it?
It doesn't. So, so for instance, what I'll do sometimes is, I'll shut off my email alerts, at the end of the workday, right? I'm not going to say there aren't ever times where I peek at my email in the evening, but I shut off those alerts. If I do have to write some emails, maybe over the weekend or Sunday afternoon, I schedule them to go out, first thing Monday morning. So I'm not, because if I send an email, other people might feel compelled to respond. But I've also taken to just writing myself some notes on a sticky note that I save, and then I'll, revisit them, Monday morning. So that way I can kind of, if there's something I'm excited about, I'm not, spending too much time on the computer. I'm just jotting some notes down, and when it's time to work, then I'm back in it.
That's a really great tip. So you get it out of your head. So it's not gnawing you all weekend, and you can handle it later, and you don't lose the thought.
Yep. And
Great
at the same
tip.
time, you get the mental break and the screen break.
Wow. Well, I bet you guys didn't know we were going to school today. This is so exciting to get these tips, and really you're mentoring us, and it's so appreciated. So as we wind things down, Dr. Banks, I'd love to ask you, what do you see in terms of the landscape of the future of entrepreneurs in the city of Charlotte?
Well, again, there's just so much growth and so much opportunity. I think, especially with the changing landscape, I would encourage folks that are interested in new initiatives to look at changes that are happening within their industry and to look for opportunities, right? So for instance, because of the pandemic, we saw changes to how restaurants were operating in terms of delivery and takeout, and how they're structuring physically the layout of their organization. We're seeing lots of other businesses getting creative or flexible with how they're structuring physically the layouts of their businesses, how they're structuring work schedules for their employees. We're seeing businesses pause and think about how am I creating value for my consumers or for my stakeholders? And again, who are my stakeholders, right? I think that question about who stakeholders are is really important, whether those be kind of, the traditional shareholders, but there also are folks that might be kind of further away that we haven't thought about. And so you find opportunities to create value for people that are further away, further removed than you originally might have thought. Technology certainly makes that easier as well. So I think it's important for folks to look at the changes that have occurred within these various industries, and to look for opportunities in them.
What a great way to round things out, to always be looking for those opportunities. Dr. George Banks, Professor of Management at Belk College of Business at UNC Charlotte. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And this is Business Matters. Business Matters is presented in partnership with UNC Charlotte's Belk College of Business. Advance your career on your terms with the Charlotte Online MBA, launching this fall with a choice of tech-focused concentrations. Applications are being accepted now for fall admission. click the link below. Great to have you. I'm Donna Maria, small business columnist at Q City Metro, and we'll see you next time.